Hi there, Phil Simborg with a little bit of a study in post-Crawford cube action. Most of us think post-Crawford cube action is pretty simple, and if you remember the basic rules of thumb, it actually isn't too complicated, but lots of people get mixed up. Here is a situation where red is winning 6-4, and it's post-Crawford. Obviously, red was winning 6-3 or 6-2, and it was Crawford, and then blue won a game, either a gammon or a win, and got to 6-4. So, as you might notice, I have set my score to show the away score. And when I'm actually playing in matches, that's what I use also, is the away score. You can right-click and show absolute score, or you can right-click and show the away score. Well, what really matters in backgammon is how many points you need to win the match. It's your away score. Well, in this case, red only needs 1 point, and blue needs 3 points. So let's see how this plays out. Let's pretend that blue gets the opening roll, and he gets the very best opening roll you can possibly get, which, as we all know, is a 3-1. By the way, let's check that. Let's just see how much better a 3-1 is than other rolls. Let's go to Analyze, Dice Distribution, and let's look at all the possible rolls and how good they are for blue. Well, his best roll would be a 6-6, but in the United States and in most of the world, you can't have a double on the opening roll. You can, by the way, in Turkey and in some countries where each player rolls one die, and whoever gets the higher die gets to roll 2. So it is possible to have an opening double 6 roll. I'm sort of glad that we don't have that rule in most backgammon, because that would give you, as you can see, way too big an advantage. On the opening roll, you can become a 65% advantage in the game by rolling double 6. So our best non-double opening roll is a 3-1, which gives you a very, very slight advantage in the game before your opponent's roll. It gives you a plus. So there's your very best non-double roll, 3-1. So let's give blue a 3-1. Now let's give red his worst roll. What do you think his worst roll would be? I was at first a little surprised when I heard what the first roll would be. I'll give you a second just to see if you can guess what's red's worst roll here. Turns out that his worst roll is 5-4. And the reason it's 5-4 is because he can't split these back checkers, which is what you'd really like to do after your opponent makes the 3-point. You'd like to come out to here or split to put pressure on the stripped 8-point. But a 5-4 doesn't make a point, doesn't put you in any good strategic area, doesn't allow you to run, and forces you to bring the 2 down. Leave yourself exposed and stack the 8-point even more. Let's prove it. Analyze, Dice Distribution. Down at the bottom here, 5-4 is your worst roll. So you roll a 5-4 and you play it correctly by bringing 2 down, and now blue is on roll. Well, blue has an automatic double here. He's losing, and why should he play on without doubling? Why should he take the chance of playing on and losing 1 point when his opponent wins the match if he wins 1 point, or he might roll a market losing roll or a really great roll, and now his opponent, he only wins 1 point instead of 2. Well, really good players know that you probably can't lose your market here if you're playing a good player, because red should take just about any cube here as long as he can't get gammoned. His take point is under 3%. He's got to take everything, because to drop here, think about what happens if you drop the cube. If blue doubles here, the score becomes 6-5, and then blue will double on the first roll next time, and whoever wins the game wins the match. So it really doesn't matter whether blue wins 1 point or 2 points. The only difference would be whether or not red gets a free drop next time, and we'll talk about free drops in just a second. So any time that virtually that blue doubles here, red should drop. And my advice to you is, unless you become a very sophisticated player and know what you're doing, you probably should always double when your opponent only needs 1 point and see what happens. Now again, some good players may wait here, hoping they can get red to make a mistake. Maybe they get to the point where they're an 80% favorite and red only has 20%, or even a 90% favorite, and red only has 10% winning chances, and they double and get a drop. Well, winning 1 point is about as good as winning 2, and they're thrilled to get that drop when he has only 10%. So the right cube action here would be double take. Let's check it. Automatic double take. And as you can see, it would be a 43% error to drop. Now I told you that red has to take just about any cube. Let's take a look. Analyze cube information. You can see his take point is 2.39%. In other words, he wouldn't drop a game unless he has less than 2.5% winning chances. It would be right to drop, of course, unless there's gammons. If the cube is turned to 2, a gammon will cost in the match. So the gammon value with the cube at 2 would be 1.0. Let's put the cube at 2, and you'll see that his cost of gammons, or the value to blue of winning a gammon, is 1.0, which means the cost to red would be 1.0. So assuming that there's not a tremendous amount of gammons, you're going to take just about any cube. So again, blue could get crafty here and wait, and even if blue rolled his best roll, which, I don't know, double 6 looks pretty good, or hit looks pretty good. My guess is double 6 is probably his best roll. Maybe hitting is better because of gammons. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. Analyze. Dice distribution. Hitting is better than double 6. Rolling a 4-4 specifically to hit and make the point is better than double 6. Other than that, double 6 is better than all of the other hits. So if you roll double 4, you'd hit here, make the 4 point. That's your best roll. Even then, you wouldn't lose your market. Red's got to have way over 2.34%. So let's give blue his very best roll. Double 4, hits there, makes this point. Red's on the bar. Let's say that red rolls those 9 dancing numbers. 9 out of 27 times, he's going to dance. How did I do that so quick? Am I a genius? No. I know that when there are 3 numbers blocked, there are 9 combinations. Double 4, double 5, double 6, 4, 5, 4, 6, and 5, 6. But I also have a shortcut. There are 3 points covered. 3 times 3 is 9. So there's 9 numbers that don't come in. These shortcuts, by the way, are really, really helpful over the board. They'll help you get to your decisions and your calculating your risk and rewards much easier and much quicker, and always much more accurately too. So let's assume red doesn't come in, and let's see what the cube action is now. Look at this. He got to a pass. He doesn't have a take. There's too many gammons after he dances here. Blue blew it. By not doubling, he only wins 1 point when he could have won 2 points, or maybe won 4 points in the match had he given the cube earlier, because he's going to win gammons here close to 30% of the time. So he really did have one market loser in rolling double 4 and seeing this dance. So that's why you don't toy with these positions. That's why you should just give the cube when your opponent has won away and not try to be too clever. I grant you that this hasn't happened too often. If red had just come in here with a normal number, let's say he came in with, let's give him a lousy number, like a 3, 3, 5. Comes in with a 3. Let's say he brings the 5 down, and blue doubles now. It's going to be a take. So even with a lousy entry number, probably his only drop was when he danced there. So there was a market losing number. That's a real good lesson for us to give the cube, unless you're really, really sure. There's no point in even risking the one market loser. Now, some might argue that there is a point. The idea that your opponent can well make a mistake. Again, you're getting into more sophisticated territory, and you're assuming your opponent doesn't know that he has a very low take point here. And that's quite possible if you're playing in the beginner division, or maybe even some low intermediates would be quite off on positions like this. But at the higher levels, it's generally not going to happen. Okay, now let's change the score. Let's go back and let's say that you have a score where now it's post Crawford and it's 2 away, 1 away, and let's give blue a 6-5. And now let's give red a really great roll, his best roll, or one of his best rolls, a 3-1. And blue is on roll. Should blue double? Absolutely. It's automatic. You gain nothing by waiting, because again, you could get to a really strong position and red's got nothing to lose by dropping, because it's going to be double match point if he drops, and it'll be double match point if he takes. So blue should absolutely give the cube. Should red take or drop? Do you think red is winning or losing? Well, again, he can take the cube and be a double match point, or he can drop this cube and play the next game for the match and be a double match point. So the answer is he should drop if he's losing by even 1%. Well, most of us will argue that a 3-1 is better than a 6-5. However, blue rolled first and he gets to roll again, and blue really does have a slight advantage here, and this is a drop. Not a huge drop, but you can see blue is winning because he's on roll and he got a good enough start. So even if you're slightly behind and you have a free drop, you should take advantage of that free drop. Now, how do you know when you have a free drop? The way I remember it is this way. It's odd to have a free drop. I think that's very odd. So anytime my opponent has an odd number of points, I have a free drop. He has 5 points, it's a free drop. I think that's odd. That's how I remember it. By the way, if the score were 4 away, 1 away, my opponent has an odd number of points here also. And again, I could have a free drop. Wait a second. Look at this. I'm losing and it says take. Oh my goodness. It doesn't apply. Why not? Why is this a free drop? Automatic double pass. But when he's got an odd number of points and he's still winning the game by just as much, it becomes a take. Do you know why? Because when you have another game to go, he can use his free drop next time. And even though your opponent has a very slight edge this game, he might have a huge edge the next game. And having that free drop could be much more significant. For example, he could start out with an opening 3-1 and you could roll something lousy like a 5-1 or 5-2, and now he doubles you. He's got a significant advantage in the game, and you would be thrilled to have your free drop. So even though you're down just a little bit, and even though you have a free drop, if there's another free drop to go, don't be so quick to give away the free drop. Are we splitting hairs here? Are we talking about minute differences? Some might argue that, but an 8% error is a pretty big error. That means you're giving away 8% of your winning chances or equity in the match. That's a pretty significant error for one quick decision. So these things, they add up, and even when there's small differences, it's important to get the theory right and to get them right, because sometimes those differences are going to be darn big. Notice how I use darn for the children who are watching. So they could be darn big, boys and girls. It's important to get the right theory, because we often don't know over the board if it's a big mistake or a small mistake. And even if it's a small mistake, why make any mistake if you can get it right? You're not just playing to win, you're playing to play well. You're playing because it's a challenging intellectual game and it's fun to win, but it's also really, really fun to play well and make good decisions. So if you play backgammon for the joy of figuring out the puzzles, for the joy of being correct, for the joy of proving that you've gotten something right, and you attack the game that way, the winning will take care of itself. That's my advice on post-Crawford play. I hope it was helpful to you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.